All right, so today we're going to put together a video about properly shipping a Kellenberger that has a roller bearing underneath the wheel slide. Now, some Kellenbergers have a roller bearing on the flat side of the wheel head slide. That's the side, the right side of the machine. So, assuming you have a machine that looks pretty much like what we have right here, you're going to have to get your coolant tank is going to have to be out of the way. Your electrical cabinet is going to have to already be unhooked and out of your way. And then you're going to have to be able to take these guards off the side of the machine. If you have this cover here has to come off. I already have these screws loose. So you take that cover off there. Then you should have another little strip down here with a bunch of screws. I would just go ahead and take that off. It makes it a bit easier. There are holes drilled through it for the cross bolts, but it's harder to line them up with it on there. So I believe it's probably easier just to take that bracket off. All right, so now we got that bracket off. Now on the side of this wheel head, you're going to see a bunch of holes for the screws that we just took out, but then there's some bigger 10mm holes. It's a good chance they're going to have set screws in them. They're going to be plugged so you don't get any dirt or oil in there. They'll have to be removed, but on the side here, you've got two holes spaced approximately 4 or 5 inches apart. And you have two holes in the base of the machine down here that don't move. So this is designed so you can go through here and reach your screw, your bottom screw from the outside. So you've got to locate the two holes down there and take out the set screws, if there are any set screws in there, and the corresponding holes on the top. Now, of course, this is all lined up. If you're going to come up on this machine, and more than likely it's not going to be under power anymore, but you could still move this slide around. So you've got to be able to have somebody work with you to get these holes all lined up properly. So you use the hand wheel. These things have a coarse adjustment. If you pull the knob out or flip the lever, the more you'll get more of coarse movement in order to adjust where those holes are. So now you got a bracket here. This back cover here has to also come off. There's a couple of screws on the inside, one on this side, one on the other. But if it has a little bit of movement, then you can just lift it up and pull it out. It's got one of these little cutout type of things, and just fits over the head of the Allen screw. So you want to take that off, because under here, this is where your flat way is. There's a roller bearing, and we've got to get that roller bearing out of there. Now, the only way to get that roller bearing out of there is to slightly jack up the side of this wheel head, to actually tilt up the one side, like opening a door, like a hinge. And that's what they have here. This is from Kellenberger, and it bolts onto here. You got to get a 8mm, everything is metric, 8mm Allen wrench. Or 6mm, excuse me. Line up with the top holes. Don't make anything tight until you get everything. Now, if you're lined up in the right place, your bottom screws will go in also. If not, you got to have somebody move the slide in, move the slide out. Keep fooling around with it until you get it exactly where you want it. You could probably make one of these things. A piece of channel iron and a couple other things on there and some holes drilled. You want to tighten it up. Okay, so when we tighten up this screw in the center, it's actually going to push against the base of the machine and allow the slide to come up. So let's go ahead and do that. Now you can only lift this enough, just enough. The book tells you a certain how many thousandths you can lift it, but so you realize that you don't want to damage anything. You just want to lift this very little to take the weight off of this, the bearings that are in there. So I'm going across one time, and maybe another half. Now you have to have some kind of a way of getting in there. And I have something like a coat hanger with a little hook on the end of it. You might have to fool around with that. Also, I see here that this is going to end up being in your way, so this has to come off also. This is just a little bracket that holds your cable from your wheel head motor. Another couple of screws. So now, I have to go fishing under here for that bearing. And it's not right there, it's in there a little bit. Usually you can get on top of it and flip the hook in and pull it out. Just got to be patient. Sometimes it goes right away. All right, we better stop the video right now. I have to readjust my hook. I think I have too much hook on it. All right, so I had to fool around with my little tool here. I had to go up a little bit more, very carefully, and finally I was able to hook this bearing here. And if you look down in here, if you could see this, you're trying to get one of these bearings, and you're trying to get something like that happening, and it's not that easy. But be persistent, and you will get it out of there. So there's your roller bearing. This is what you don't want the weight of the machine bouncing on going cross country. So we put that over there, and we're going to replace that with a specially ground bar from Kellenberger. Basically, this is 7 millimeters by 1 inch. And you could try a 1/4 inch by 1 inch. It could be aluminum, it could be steel like this. I don't think it would really make a big difference. On the end here, there's a 5 millimeter tapped hole that you have a little screw in, so you don't have to go through what I just went through. And just stick it in enough so that the next guy can grab that screw and pull that out. And then you simply want to let this down. Again, I want to stress, you might be luckier or you pulling the bearings out than I just was. When you put them in, one side is a little different than the other. I don't think it really matters, but I think it's easier to grab it one way than it is to grab it the other way. And I'm not sure which way that actually is, but that's just another thought. So we keep taking this off. We got our weight off that screw, so the slide now is back down tight on top of the the shipping block in there, the shipping bar. Just make sure this is loose. Of course, this machine right here is all nice and clean and painted, and it's very simple to do. And it's still a little difficult. So if you have a machine that's dirty, it's been in production, or it's just coming out of the factory, or you're just moving it, you're going to have to look for these tapped holes, line everything else up right. All right, so once we get that off, don't move anything, and somewhere there's an actual bracket now, just a plain old, there goes all my screws, a plain old bracket that you're going to put right back in those 4 holes. And this is going to become our shipping bracket to hold it in place. You don't want to leave the jacking mechanism in there to hold it in place. So you screw that all up, line that all up nice and tight, and screw that in there. Screw that one in there. These screws and these brackets, just put them in a bag, or just put this to the side. This back cover, actually, if you wanted to, could go back on. This could go back on. The back cover could go back on, and the machine could be shipped properly like that. Any questions, give us a call here at Machinery Values. Thank you very much.